What do you think?
Hi, everybody.
It's the worst thing you've ever done the entire time we've done this show.
Good evening, or whatever time you're watching this.
Are you trolling someone?
I don't troll. That's terrible.
You are a
Don't
pretty
troll.
terrible human being.
Apparently.
Stan Stokes, buddy.
Hey,
How
man.
are you?
I'm good. A little cooked, as we all are on the last day. But I'm good.
SEMA goes on to, they have a Friday night event.
Yeah.
There's
I don't know where to get the juice from, but my juice is gone, man. The days of rolling in and out and in and out and in and out just...
Do you think this is a good show for like a standard shop owner or a technician to come to? What are you've been to shows for years and years?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not calling you old or nothing. I mean, kind of, but not like...
Almost 20 years, man. Not every single year, but
Right.
Been in the space here for probably 20 years. It can be overwhelming. It kind of depends.
Yeah.
I think a lot of small businesses today, we get in our cocoons. I mean, I'm guilty of it. COVID made us really guilty of it.
Right.
Working from home and running around in our T-shirt and flip-flops, all the time. And but obviously in automotive repair, you got to go into the shop. And so, but I think it just depends upon your personality. Some people just suck this stuff up.
Right.
But if you're an introvert, oh my God, you're probably going to freak out a little bit because it's just so overwhelming.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of our followers that are introverts that I've had to really push and be like, hey, come to one of the real homey kind of family reunion fill-in ones first.
Yeah.
Get to know everybody and get a network built around you because you want to have people you know. I was talking to Mark about that yesterday, and then we talked about our dinner last night. We went to a dinner and had kind of like a change in the industry meetup, and one of the things that we said is, hey, let's make sure that next year we have a meetup for the podcast, and then when we invite people, let's make sure they kind of know where their tribe's at.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of industry people here. There's a lot of manufacturers. There's a lot of salespeople. There's a lot of other stuff here. And that's great. And those are great resources for those who might want to come. But I also think that that can be overwhelming to somebody who doesn't know any of these people.
Oh, for sure. I mean, my wife would not come. I mean, she's very introvert.
Right.
She'll tell you, hey, I don't want to go to that stuff. Right. I'm completely opposite.
Yeah.
But, you learn as you get older that not everybody flies the same colors.
Of course.
And so, but to answer your question, I think if like you said, if you got your tribe with you and you come with a group, it can get a little confusing because it's just so massive. I mean, I've heard things like this is one of the largest conventions in the world.
Yeah.
And I don't know the numbers this year, but I mean, it's been well excess, 100,000 people?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Spread across 2 or 3 miles here. And then you're in Vegas. Right?
Yeah.
So you got to throw that in the mix.
Yeah.
And this year we're thrown in with the
F1.
The F1. I mean, what other stimulation can you have? We got it all going on, right?
F1 made it tough.
Oh, definitely.
F1 made it tough because it's been hard to get around. It's been hard to navigate. And that's not anything on Apex or SEMA or anything else.
It's not their fault.
It's man,
I walked from Palms my first day.
Yeah.
I got in the Uber. We went about 200 yards, and we just stopped.
Yeah.
30 minutes, did not move. I was like, and I felt bad for the Uber guy,
Yeah.
I said, he's got to make his money. I said, I'm just going to walk. I mean, you can see, didn't realize that's pretty far. So I got 40-pound backpack on me, start walking, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, it's a 2-mile walk.
Yeah.
By the time I got here, I was done. It's like, I can't stand on my feet anymore, but
yeah,
it's been really cool. There's so much to take in. There's tons of education. You cannot do it all. I think if you come with the show with the intentions of hitting it all, if I was to give anyone any advice, do your homework. Yeah. Plan what you're going to do out in advance versus just trying to wing it. Because if you wing it, man, you'll be cooked. Trying to go from SEMA to Apex. Take the time to look at the schedule, map out what training you want to go to, what events you want to go to.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, you're just going to be, don't you think?
And the other thing that you've got to do is you have to get a map of the Strip, and you got to get a map of the Venetian, and you got to get a map of the convention center.
Yes.
Because otherwise you're going to get lost.
Yes.
right? And that will overwhelm you. So if you've got a map, you can kind of plan out your routes and like know where you got to walk to and everything else.
That sounds like too much planning.
Well, they've got good apps. They've actually done a much better job of these apps now.
Yeah.
A couple years ago, they didn't work real well, but now you can kind of GPS in the building, so you navigate a little bit better. The one thing that kind of stumped me this year is as you go into the halls, the vendor and display halls, the directions were terrible. I mean, I couldn't. I'm looking up for trying to figure out signs, and they've got so many different business units, especially here at Apex, right? And in real small print, so it was really hard to figure out, well, what section of this 50,000 square feet is business or applications or things of that nature. Did you notice that too?
Yeah, a little bit. But I mean, like for me, I knew where I was going.
Yeah.
And like I knew I wanted to go see this person or I wanted to go see that and I wanted to talk to this person or that person. So I kind of already had an idea of where they were and what they were doing. And so I knew that's who I wanted to talk to. You know what I'm saying? So, and that goes back to what you were saying, kind of plan out.
Know what you want to do.
Especially if you're a shop owner and you're thinking, hey,
what do you tell a shop owner who's never been here before? Or tech that's never been here before?
Buckle up, buttercup.
Get overwhelmed the first year, and then the second year, you'll have an idea like, I wish I would have X, Y, Z.
And don't put too much pressure on yourself to do it. You're not going to be able to do it all.
Yeah.
And I think you just accept going in, you know what? I'm going to do a few things. I'm going to take it all in, but don't feel like, well, I've spent so much, because it's a big expense, right, to come out here. And I think when you're spending money, especially as a shop owner, if you're bringing a couple guys out, you're thinking about, oh man, I got to get these guys dialed in. I got to maximize their time. Don't wear them out. Let them soak it in. I think the biggest, outside of the training, it's that you get to collaborate with people in your industry.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably where the biggest things are out of these kind of conventions is you get to meet like-minded people, your group, and then you don't feel like you're out on an island like a lot of guys do.
Well, and that's one of the things that we want to do is like build a little bit of a network here. So when they come here, they know the group of people that's here. And they have a way to connect with those people and go to dinner. And that's why probably on one of the first nights next year, we'll have a dinner or a meetup.
That'd be nice.
Where everybody can get together. They can all know somebody. We'll invite vendors. We'll invite everybody and say, hey, let's just go to dinner.
Have y'all done that before?
We've always done something called the ASOG dinner. And the ASOG dinner is a scholarship dinner. And we're going to work on some scholarships for this too.
Cool.
And set it up to where it can help them and get them here and for those who couldn't afford, right? We're going to put some stuff together for that. But we're going to do one a little bit different here where it's not the scholarship dinner. It's not the speaker dinner. It's because,
just to hang out.
Yeah, exactly. Just to meet up and let everybody get together and walk around and shake hands. And that way, when you're walking up and down these halls, right, you have some connections. Give them some time. We're going to tell everybody, hey, either bring a business card or a way people can connect with you. That way, somebody you really connect with, you can say, hey, man, like, hey, I'm thinking about going over here. We're going to go to dinner. So you're not trying to do everything alone. Right?
Yeah.
And then what does that do? That expands your network, right? Think about that because like when you get to know somebody, like Bill came in, introduced you to us. We talked. Now I know you and you've introduced me to other people. And so it just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, maybe you guys ought to have change in the industry hats so we all know, hey, I know you know me because I listen to you on the,
That's it. I'm going to get David a tattoo that says change in the industry right there on the top of his forehead.
I love it. I think
on my forehead.
Yeah, I think
a little bit further up.
Yeah,
kind of like maybe he's got plenty of space up there to work with.
Absolutely. I think that's a damn good idea.
You remember the first? Did you ever have a full set of head when you were a kid?
Like 22.
You remember the first time you got like sunburnt on the top?
I don't sunburn that well. Like I don't sunburn.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I remember my first time. Yeah. It was. You do not forget your first sunburn on the crown. I mean, it was brutal.
On the other hand, because I own a shop, I didn't clear the backing plate on the brakes of a car one time. So it's a thin piece of metal on the wheel. The rotor comes off, so it's just a thin piece of metal. The bottom part it's sharp, and I walked right into it. And it cut the skin and then shoved the skin up and then embedded brake dust into my head. And so I had this when it healed up, it was still this black spot on my forehead from the brake dust that had jammed itself into my scalp. It did.
I have had some really.
You have no idea what I'm talking about. You hit your head without any hair. It hurts worse.
Oh, no.
There's no cushioning.
There's no cushioning.
Look, you see these holes? You see those holes?
She's just slapping your. You were also a baby. Like, you don't remember.
No, here's the deal: is that I have hit my head, and I like me. I move fast, and oftentimes I'm not really paying attention to what I'm doing, and so I was the world's worst. I'd turn a corner in the old shop because like when we had our old shop, there's like doors and pathways, and I'd walk in and a car would be up and I'd be on the telephone. I'd like pop my head on a tire and hit it so hard like I leave a tire imprint on my face, And I will never forget. I was walking into the back bay one time and I was going with a purpose, and one of the lift arms was stuck out and I did not see it, right? The lift was up in the air. They were cleaning the floor, and I turned the corner and I walked square into that thing.
And they don't move.
No, it left a backwards L imprint on my forehead, and I hit so hard that my feet kept going and my head stopped. Dude, I just
Knocked
fell straight down on the ground.
Yeah. I haven't been knocked out, but I've hit my head pretty hard.
I'm not going to tell you about the time I got knocked out because you won't believe the stories.
Okay, I want to hear it. You gotta tell it.
So, I guess my daughter, oldest, was 8 or 9.
Yeah.
What do all little girls want? They want a rabbit.
Right.
So we got sort of fur ball, and she wanted to let it out in the backyard one day, fenced in. Okay, go ahead. It's very interesting when you take a nice, calm little rabbit out of a cage and introduce it to the outside world. They change. And they become very quick to move. And so we set it, and she, how little girls are just squeezing the hell out of the bunny, right? So, honey, let it go. She puts it down. She says, he's going to be fine. He kind of looked up. And he down the steps. And we had this, playground kind of area.
Yeah.
And, of course, my daughter immediately starts, Daddy, Dad, go get the rabbit. Go get the rabbit. So I'm out like Elmer Fudd out here, running around trying to and he would stop. Have you ever tried to chase a rabbit?
No.
Can't say that I have.
Elmer Fudd, he tried. It was pretty real. The difficulty of it. So, he'd stop. And I'd slowly try to crawl my way up there. And as soon as I reached down, he'd bolt off. We had this tree with this limb that hung out at about 5 feet above ground. And when you're chasing something on the ground, you're looking down. And I'm full tilt running, trying to catch this. And I churn, and bam, I hit the limb out cold. If YouTube or Facebook or TikTok would have been down around then, that would have been a moment. I was out. I woke up. I was like, what's going on? I caught the rabbit, Dad, but you got knocked out.
Oh, she caught the rabbit?
She caught the rabbit.
Holy moly.
Yeah. So that's my only claim to fame of being knocked out.
I've got a couple. We probably
Could you imagine seeing, this old guy trying to, his daughter, you do anything for your kids, right?
Yeah.
Dad, go bang your head against that tree and try to catch that rabbit.
Yeah. I bet that left a mark.
Oh, it hurt. You don't realize how much it hurts till you do it.
I would have been that rabbit would have been rabbit stew by the end of that day. And they're like, we're not keeping the rabbit, dear. We'll cook this rabbit. I'm going to eat it.
Look at what it's done.
Look what it's done.
Stan, tell us about you. You've got a pretty interesting career that you've had here. Where did it start?
Oh my gosh, man! How much time do we have? It's
we'll be fine. There's at least 4 hours left on the SD card.
I have been so blessed in my life to have had the opportunity to travel the world. Okay. My dad was in the military. Was born in Charlotte. What's interesting, I was born in Charlotte, and I'm back in Charlotte.
That is pretty
North
cool.
Carolina, right?
Yep.
And at an early age, we were overseas. So I'm talking in the last time I counted, it was well over 40 moves in my life.
Holy cow.
Yeah. a lot of moves. But Dad was in the Air Force, and he was specialized in addiction, and back with this, so this was maybe the 70s when they're really starting to feel the effects of addiction in the military. And so he was involved with setting up these treatment centers.
Okay.
And in the military, you replicate everything. So everything's on the 4th, 5th ward. So he was just responsible for running from base to base and setting up these programs. So we were never anywhere for any period of time.
Right.
And so that was probably really cool as a kid. As I look back now as an adult, the things I got to experience as a kid, like going to Athens, Greece,
Yeah.
you know, at the age of 8 and seeing the ruins and going to Rome and going to Italy and Spain. I mean, I would much more appreciate it today if I was to go back. But as a kid, I remember like, man, this is kind of cool, you know?
We don't appreciate those things.
Oh, no.
And it's always sad because later on in life, all of a sudden you realize the opportunity you were given and the things. And I think hindsight's 20/20, but we always kind of have that nostalgic, that stings a little bit. I miss that, you know?
Yeah. But, you know, just moving all around, I was really I had a choice, right? You either get to know people or you just sit around and do nothing. And so, naturally, being an extrovert, it just went into overdrive being in that environment.
Yeah.
But, you know, school was tough just because we moved so much. I probably redid 3 years.
Holy cow.
Just because we move and get backed up and move and then come back to the States. But, you know, we lived some pretty cool places. It was pretty neat. And I think when you get an opportunity to travel the world, you realize it's a lot of different cultures out there, man. You know, and we're not all this way. And I'm very grateful that I was exposed to the things that this country's beginning to embrace, right?
Yeah.
And so I think Europe was probably the most impactful. You just saw so much diversification, so many nationalities of people. And so I think that gave me a real open mind, you know. And then I guess we were living in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And there used to be this thing called a newspaper that people would get delivered to their homes.
What's that?
Yeah, a newspaper. It's this printed thing on paper. And there was one called the Washington Post. It's actually still around. But when we were stationed at Andrews Air Force Base, I started delivering the Washington Post. And I'll never forget, you have those moments where you realize this is what I want to do one day when I grow up. Well, F-15 and 4s and all your Top Gun kind of planes would roll out at about 4:30 in the morning for their routines.
Yeah.
And I remember as a kid sitting there going, I want to fly a plane. I want to fly jets one day. And so I knew right then I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And so I set on a course I want to be a pilot. And went to military school. You probably heard of Oak Ridge Military Academy in Kernersville.
Yeah.
And that was my journey. That's what I wanted to do. I want to go into military school, then I want to go to the Naval Academy, and I wanted to be a Top Gun. And lo and behold, things change in our lives, you know, and I was very blessed to get the opportunity to go to Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University down in Daytona. Well, there's nothing like taking a kid and getting him away from his parents and getting away from military structure in Daytona Beach. You know, my first year took off, and I had some challenges with my eyesight and some other things that someone just came out and told me, man, I don't think the pilot's is right for you.
Right.
And
I bet that sucked.
Yeah, it did.
Stung a little bit.
You know, my brother-in-law is an orthopedic surgeon. He says this all the time. He says, not everybody's meant to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Right? Not everybody's meant to be these certain things. But man, I knew what I wanted to do. But that was a big blow. And I think when you have these events in your life, you're only going to go left or right because you're not going to stay where you're at.
Yeah.
And I think for me, as I look back in my life, and I mean this really hard, I learned more from the bumps and bruises.
Yeah.
Than I do I remember the successes. We all have our wins, but I remember the most lessons from and I don't even call them failures anymore.
Yeah.
I like to use the word opportunity. Those are opportunities to make a decision on something different.
Yeah.
And it was about then that I switched gears.
Okay.
And got into sales. Do you remember the fitness craze of the 80s?
David might.
The 80s.
I was barely born in the 80s.
So the 80s were all about, remember the fitness and what do they call it? Aerobics came out.
Sure.
And, man, fitness centers popped up everywhere. And I was bartending, and this big bodybuilding guy kind of came in every day to have a drink. And we kicked it off and started chit-chatting. He goes, you ever been in sales? No. He goes, man, you got the gift of gab. You need to be in sales. Selling what? Oh, fitness. Fitness is where it's at. Fitness memberships. And so that's where I got my career in sales, was selling fitness memberships. And that just evolved and went on to other things. But fast forward, another turn of events. Ended up going through a divorce, and I was very comfortable working in manufacturing applications. I was very fortunate to get around software and that kind of stuff at an early age. And the company I was working for shut down the division I was in right about the time I was going through the divorce. Really tough time, career, and then family hit. And I'm right south of 40, and don't know what I'm going to do.
Right.
And this thing called Google had popped up. I know I'm dating myself here, but that wasn't too long ago. That was 04.
Yeah.
And a headhunter came up to me and he said, you're good at sales. You ought to check this thing out called the internet, advertising and marketing. And so since then, this is what I've been doing, is really embracing the advancements of all the stuff as a business owner. And this is what we consult with business owners so much. It's that prior to digital, marketing was easy. It was print, radio, and TV. That's it. You ran an ad in the paper. You had your yellow pages. If you had the money, you did some TV and radio. Think what we do today. All the avenues and channels. And so I've just spent the last 20 years now engulfed in that area. And then for the last 10 years, really consulting the industry and shop owners on how do you operationalize all this stuff.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Right? I'm spending money. I'm driving leads to my business. Well, what are you doing with the lead? What's the customer journey look like? And I'm not going to do my info commercial, but again, just chit chat, trying to answer your question, kind of this evolution that we all go through. But that's at this point in my life, I really just enjoy giving back. I love helping people and see people prosper, and if I can be a part of that, great. But I think that's probably the point where I'm at in my life. Does that make sense?
Of course. And so you said some things yesterday that were pretty interesting, because we talked about two aspects in that shop setting. Mm-hmm. Because you said, I analyze conversations. Mm-hmm. That's what I do. I use AI to analyze conversations. Mm-hmm. And then right after that, we got off on a different subject, and you said, oh, I do that too. And I said, well, what do you mean you do that too? And you said, well, I analyze and do competency testing to verify if an employee is a good fit for their role. How did you get
from that
there to there?
It's a great question. So some of you guys that have been around maybe remember a company called Yodel. Yodel was really the pioneer for local search and websites. You're shaking your head. Yeah. And I was very, very fortunate to have gone on the ground floor with those guys.
Wow.
And I was an older guy, but I knew what a script was. I'd been on the phone my whole life. My mother was an entrepreneur. And I remember in 7th grade going over to her business and listening to her on the phone. She had a pitch. She wrote it down. She memorized it. Here's the funny thing, man. I still remember that damn thing. If I was to sit here and think, I could probably remember that script because I heard it every day. I would go in there.
Yeah.
So that, I think when we got in with Yodel and we started being able to record conversations, for the first time, a business owner had some insights that they never had before. I don't think they knew what to do with it, but they all of a sudden had it, and you could quantify your marketing, which was beautiful. Oh, you mean if somebody calls me to track and you track that back to my revenue and my ROI? Oh yeah, it's the greatest thing. And so as we started launching that product and getting out, especially in this industry, people call us up and go, I don't know that marketing's working for me. This isn't working for me. And I go, why's that? I just don't have any customers. And as a marketer, usually when something goes south in a business, the first person you want to put the bullet to is your marketing guy.
Yeah.
And so I sat back and I said, you know what? We got to figure out a way to be proactive instead of reactive to these types of conversations. And so 15 years ago, I started listening to conversations between the consumer and the business owners. When they were calling, what they were asking, what was going through, because we were on the defense as a marketer to say, no, it's not the marketing. Listen to all these calls. We're driving you great leads. But as a shop owner, I'm not making any money. So I have nobody else to sacrifice except you. And so, does that make sense?
Yeah, that happens. It happens all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. And so as this industry just continued to evolve, everybody and their brother was doing digital. Everybody and their brothers recording phone calls. And I started just looking as a consultant and saying, you know what? We've got this conversion rate in our industry. And conversion rate is how many telephone calls does it take for that customer to show up at your shop. They call it a lead to customer conversion rate. We've heard all about it. And so I started studying these numbers about 10 years ago. And what do you think the industry average is?
David's going to know the answer to that.
Oh, I don't know. It's probably really low, like 10%, 11%.
A little bit higher than that. Yeah. But 30 is about that number as an industry. Now, where did I get that from? The platforms out there, your Kukuis of the world, your My Shop, all of the different CRM systems out there. I even had a conversation with Tony from Auto Shop Solutions.
Yeah.
And across the board, they're hovering between 10 and 30. And so what it started leading me to is like, I don't accept that number. Why do we have to accept 3 out of 10? That's a big expense to get 3.
Yeah.
And so we kind of started approaching it to what's going on with that conversation. And let's look at it let's dissect the consumer behavior.
Okay.
What are the characteristics of a caller? What's the conversation? What's the underlying tone of the conversation? And that's just morphed over the years of us being able to very accurately understand what's going on in that conversation. And we whittled it down to there's only 2 types of people, three types of callers. Only 3. And people look at me like they go, what do you mean only 3? There's only 3 types of callers to a shop. 1, your current customer booking an appointment. That's a layout. The other one is, do you fix or how much is? I'm going to say that again. Do you fix or how much is? That's how they all start. Or there's a story that gets back to, do you fix and how much is?
Yeah.
Now, how do we know this? We've listened to 1 million telephone calls.
1 million?
Is that the 3?
That's only 3. So how much is, do you fix, or can I make an appointment?
Oh, okay.
It's only 3 times. Those are the way every call starts.
How did you get 1 million? How did you listen to 1 million telephone calls?
So these systems, there's technology out there with transcribed calls. And we wanted to figure out, as a consulting group, how can we operationalize this stuff and help a shop owner and create good training content to help them increase that number. Well, the first thing we had to do is we had to understand the conversation. So using some technology, AI is doing a lot of this today, but you basically, I'm looking for this in a transcript. Did that happen? And we call this an SOP, right? An SOP is a standard operating procedure of the way your conversation should go. Not how you have it, but as long as you do these certain things. And there's really 4 buckets. Have a good greeting. Have some discovery. Ask for an appointment. And close nicely. And those are kind of the 4 components of this SOP. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so we wanted to go and look at the conversation from that perspective instead of just did they show up or not. It's why are they not showing up?
Yeah.
Right? And so, yeah, just of course, I mean, yeah, it's a long time, but there's technology out there that lets us scan calls, kind of group a call. For example, I'm not going to listen to a call that's solicitation. I'm not going to listen to a vendor calling in the enterprise guy bringing you out batteries next week. So we kind of created 2 buckets of conversations. One are unqualified calls, right? And then we're talking about 2 conversations in a shop. One is coming in to do business with you, and then one is reviewing the recommendations. Those are the 2 primary conversations between the consumer and the shop. One, can you help me? And then 2, how are you helping me? And what are you doing and how much it's going to cost, right? And I think we said this yesterday. There were 2 critical events that have changed this industry. And we're trying our best to kind of wake people up to that.
Okay.
And how do we know that? Because we listening to these conversations and looking at the industry. Well, what do you think those 2 big things were? The number one thing was consumer behavior changed. And when did consumer behavior change?
After COVID.
COVID.
Yeah.
You're a shop owner, right? Prior to COVID, were you investing to create a nice environment for your customers to come and sit and have some refreshments and somewhere nice to sit?
Technically, I abandoned that, but yeah, that was originally
prior to COVID. It was you need a
nice waiting room,
a nice waiting room, and how many? I mean, a lot of money was spent on that, and then all of a sudden, COVID hit. Are people waiting anymore for their cars? Nope.
No.
So consumer behavior shifted there. Mm-hmm. Well, what did that mean to the business? My interaction with you went from this to a phone call. And I know you can't see me but face to face now is on a telephone call and conversation. The job skill just changed drastically.
Yeah, definitely.
You with me? Because I can take Mark, for example. Mark's great. If that customer walks in the door, it's his domain, and he's got them.
Yeah.
But you put him on the phone, all over the place.
Completely different. Yeah.
All over the place. The next thing that happened that really impacted the business, what technology really impacted this industry? That's consumer facing.
Cell phones, texting.
From our industry.
Oh, I don't know.
DVI.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The way we communicate with the customer about recommendations.
Sure.
What was the old way we used to do it?
You have to call them.
Call
them and go through the list.
Try to paint a picture to them.
Yeah.
Right? So what does DVI do? It's this digital inspection with pictures on it. Well, who's reviewing that? Service advisor is. Where's he reviewing that? On the phone. Right? Yeah. So that's what we were talking about yesterday, is these 2 dynamics have really changed the way, do I have the right person in the right seat on the bus?
Yeah.
And let's talk about that yesterday. And so as a result of this, as we cut back and we're going, well, wait a minute. We got this great technology that analyzes our phone calls, our platforms are telling us all that. We got great coaches in the industry that I can hire to come in and train my staff. This technology gives me all this transparency, but that number hadn't changed. That's interesting. That 30% hadn't changed. But we got all these tools out there.
Yeah.
So it's just a process of an elimination.
Yeah.
And when you peel all that stuff back, what are you left with? People.
Yep.
And our industry is full of some great coaches. I mean, there really are. We have some of the best talented people teaching our service advisors and technicians, top performers. And again, I was just sitting back as a consultant, scratching my head going, we got all the ingredients here, but why is this number not changed? And so we were really fortunate to get involved with the group that, we all know what a personality assessments are, the DISC, and personality is very different from inherent traits. And we wanted to be able to, if we could, figure out and predict the potential of a service advisor or a technician or a manager, anyone in the shop's potential of being a top performer. Now, why did we do that? I can get my car fixed anywhere. Can I not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the
sure.
only competitive advantage you really have is
people.
what?
Yeah.
Your people. And you as a shop owner want what? You want the best of the best.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I'm going to go back to, you've hired how many people in your lifetime?
Oh, dozens upon dozens upon dozens. Yeah.
Now, when you hire someone, how do you hire them? What is your primary thing that says this is going to be a good fit for me?
Usually the interview.
Interview? Okay.
Yeah. Me personally, I use behavior type questions.
Okay.
I want to set the framework. I want to tell them, this is the behavior I'm looking for. Tell me a time where you have exhibited that behavior.
Okay.
This is the behavior I don't want. Tell me a time where you didn't do this. That kind of thing. That's how my interviews are structured.
How much of that was gut?
How much was it gut? Well, that's the whole point. I understand what you're getting at. Typically, that's what the shop owner is like. Well, I just feel like they're going to be a good
about
yeah.
this, right? Your resume looks good. You got the track record. Now, what has happened in the last couple of years with our staffing resources?
Yeah.
Going sideways, right? There's not a lot of fish in the pond anymore.
Yeah.
So that's probably the third big thing that's happened. And so we were trying to figure out a way, okay, I would rather be proactive with you versus reactive. And reactive is my numbers are down, car count's down, ARO's down, got a bad review. We operate in reactive state of our business. And I keep coming back to, well, it's our people. That's our only play is our people. So can we figure out a way to help shop owners predict with some really strong data behind it, said this guy's this person is a great fit for this role. So we started doing some research, and we were very fortunate to come across a group that's done 30 million assessments that measure inherent traits. Now, what do I mean by inherent traits? If you think about the one struggle in this industry, if you had to summarize it, it's conflict. Now, why do I say that? Nobody wants to fix the car.
Right. Yeah.
Nobody wakes up in the morning and go, man, I hope I can have some brake issues today so I can call some shops around, right?
Yeah.
Outside of the dentist, we're like number 2. Did y'all know that? The things you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So we are automatically in this uncomfortable conflict type scenario. And you've been in this business. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, all the consumer knows to say is, do you fix and how much is? Do you fix this kind of car? How much is it going to cost? And you as a shop owner probably say, guys, you can't give out price on things we don't know what's really going on with the car. So what do we have? We have a conversation of conflict every single time, right? Now, if you came into the shop, I'm in a little bit more control because I have you in my domain. So the conflict thing changes a little bit, right? I can read your body language, see about mine, but the phone conversation, who's in control?
Yeah. Client.
Consumer.
Who's got control
customer.
on the phone call? The consumer does. You were at the shop, who's got control? You're here, you're in my domain. So again, these shifts. So when you take comfort for conflict, wouldn't it be great if you could measure someone's comfort with conflict? Because they're not going to tell you that in an interview, are you?
They always tell you how good they are with it.
Oh, man, I'm great with people. Yeah? You get on the phone, oh, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Reminds me of Will.
Yeah. What?
Will.
Who? He was great. He was good.
Have you ever been out or been, and we're get out of the shop for a little bit. You ever went to a restaurant and you're waiting along with 50 other people and the person up there that's supposed to sit you, their head down?
Yeah.
They're not paying attention. And what does your temperature do?
Goes up.
And you want to kind of like start throwing things at them? Dude, wake up.
Yeah.
Right? Well, there's an inherent trait that measures that. Now, you probably have witnessed this in some of your staff members, right? People, are you aware of your surroundings, what's going on, while you're also juggling a conversation? So these little things have a real impact in conversion rate. these, and I'm just using two. There's a whole bunch of them that we look at. And so we were very fortunate to find an assessment that was built for this industry that allowed us to predict the best of the best and compare and contrast those to each other. And it's spot on.
Really?
And it's scary how spot on it is. Bill, that was down here the other day, we did a podcast before, and I had no idea what he was going to say. I'll never hire another person without doing this. So when you kind of combine those ingredients to what's going on and things we're learning and analyzing all these conversations, it all comes back to, do I have the right person in the right seat on the bus? Well, now what's happened with our pool of people and resources? So what's going on in the shops now? We're moving people around.
Yeah.
You ever brought somebody to the back to the front? Mm-hmm. Right? How good were they when they came to the front?
Usually it's a disaster.
It's a disaster.
Yeah.
And what happens when it doesn't work out for them? Did they go back to the back?
No.
No, you lose them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was probably someone that really fit good in your culture and they'd been
For
with
sure.
you a long time. And now you kind of got this culture thing going on, right? Well, wouldn't it be great before you did all those shifts, you could kind of take an assessment and look at things? Somebody brought up a really interesting thing the other day, and that it didn't dawn on me, but DVI requires a lot more collaboration between technician and service advisor.
Yeah.
So let's say, are you a detail-oriented person?
Yeah.
Are you?
No.
No. Okay. So let's say that he's the tech. He's got a very powerful tool in his hand called DVI. And he probably takes a lot of pictures because he's a detail-oriented guy, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you're going to draw things out and you're going to do it because that's how the DVI trainer told you how to do it. And what did you just say? You're not a... So let's say he throws up on the report to you 40 pictures. What do you do with all that?
Probably ignore 38 of them.
So what do we have going on right here?
Conflict.
Yeah.
Compatibility, right? So again, remember I said two big changes. Consumer behavior and technology had an impact in our culture. DVIs had a huge impact between technician and service advisor. And it affects your culture and you don't realize it. And you get that tension because you're trying to put a quote together. He's upset. Why did you not give him all that? I gave you everything you needed. You heard that one?
Yeah, conversations happen. Yeah. I took the picture. Why didn't you quote this out?
So,
like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
Then what happens? The technicians stop doing such a thorough inspection because service advisor, man, he's not sharing everything with them. So these are kind of the dynamics that's going on. Vicious cycle. And so if we can help be proactive on that, man, it's a big game changer.
What? So you've created a company or an organization that does these competency tests or these ability tests,
Assessment tests, yes.
assessments. And what percentage of the people are in the right place?
I don't know if there's a percentage of that. It's hit or miss. You know, generally it takes you about, as a shop owner, about 90 days to figure out if you got the right person, right? Sure. Unless something just is underlining and you don't pick it up and then it just blows up one day, right? And you're like putting out fires. It's not about what percentage of the right person. It's more about figuring out where are their strengths and weaknesses. Now, let me peel this back a little bit further and connect the dots for you. I want the best of the best as a shop owner. And I'm using my gut and my visual and my observation of what's going on to measure that effort. Effort turns into output. Output turns into performance. Which one you want, a big P or a little p?
Big P,
right?
Yeah.
So the other piece of this puzzle is if I can predict, how do I measure that? How do I know that this was right? Just like I know I made a good hire. How do I measure his effort? How do I measure his output? So we've built a platform that we'll be launching next year that does just that. It predicts and then it measures every key aspect of their role. So as a business owner, they're staying proactive to what's going on in the business instead of reactive.
Instead of letting it turn into a festering bull.
Yeah. Now, have you ever had a coach come in your organization? You've heard of shop owners where they have a coach come in?
Sure.
And it's like, man, it was great. And then 3 months later, it just kind of fizzled.
Yeah.
Ever scratched your head on that one? Mm-hmm. Or they had a great coach, but the coach really didn't connect well with them. So the situation we were just describing, there's great coaches out there, but not everybody works well together. Well, what if you could create some type of compatibility between the people you're bringing into your shop to consult and train your team, that they're compatible with your team? How cool would that be?
Yeah.
Right? So there's so many different ways to leverage this insight. And I think we're just beginning to get on the surface of it. We really are. But that's a mouthful, I know. Right?
What are the mechanics behind the assessment and then the phone call? Are you tapping into their VoIP? Are you like how does that?
How is it doing this?
Yeah.
So everybody's pretty much got some type of call tracking system.
Okay.
And so we just kind of pinch that line, bring it in through our call analytics platform, and then forward it onto the shop. So it doesn't disrupt the business at all. And then our technology analyzes that conversation with an understanding of what an objective is. There's only one objective. Booking an appointment.
Yeah.
And I think that's where some of our secret sauces came in over the years. So we have figured out what those KPIs are to get to a booked appointment.
Yeah.
Right. And so we're measuring that conversation. Yeah, I want to book the appointment, but what I really want to know is why I didn't book the appointment. Specifically why I didn't book the appointment. And then I want some training material around that.
Yeah.
That complements his inherent trait. I'll give you a perfect example. Comfort with conflict. What's the number one reason people do not book an appointment with the shop? Would you like to take a shot at it? If you were to...
David,
they didn't ask for the appointment.
That's what everybody says.
Okay.
And it's not. I used to think that.
Yeah.
It's unable to agree to an appointment time.
Oh, geez. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's so funny he says that, okay? And I'll tell you why. Here's why I think it's funny he says that. So I've been doing this thing where I'm adding auto ops into the shop's website, and I've been working that in. And I've been extremely strict with our times, and our rule is that you drop off first thing in the morning, no ifs, ands, or buts about it, right? 8, 9, or 10 o'clock. That's all I've got. I don't have any other openings. You drop off, or you can drop off the night before, but the deal is you have to drop it off in the morning, and I try and have it back to you by the end of the day.
Yep.
And so when I said that to Steven, who runs auto ops scheduling, he's like, man, I got to be honest with you.
It's going to be tough.
He's like, you're hurting yourself. And so my biggest thought is like, I've been doing this for a while, and the story behind me is I had 3 bays. And I'm really learning that the things that worked in 3 bays don't exactly work in 10 bays in the same way. And so here I am, I'm looking at it, and I'm saying, okay, I don't necessarily feel comfortable with the idea of stepping out to just letting them schedule whenever. And he said, but look, listen, here's the deal, is it's not necessarily about them expecting their car back. It's that, well, this is the only time I can drop my car off. This is the only time that works for me. This is the only time. And he said, it's about convenience for them.
Keyword you just said.
And so we talk back and forth, and he's like, I'm not telling you have to like bend and convey or conform to their demands. He said, I'm just telling you that you have to set up something that fits their needs and then explain to them how it fits into your thing.
And it has nothing to do with fixing a car.
No.
I'm going to say that again. It has nothing to do with you explaining I didn't ask you how you're going to fix my car. But I'll be damned if we don't want to tell people how we're going to fix their car on the phone. Stop telling people how. Unless I ask you. And you know what percentage of the population really wants to know how?
Very, very
About
little.
19%.
Yeah.
But I'll be damned, because again, let's do a lot of conversations. We move from what and why into how. We need to learn how to address the why. And the why is very simple. It's an scheduling issue. I don't want to be inconvenienced. And our behavior as consumers demand it. What Amazon do to us?
Yeah.
You mean I can't have this right now? And you can hear it in the tone. What do you mean you can't look at my car today? You right?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Who put that one in us? Amazon.
Yeah.
I can get on my phone, order that, and that'll be here this afternoon at 3 o'clock. So we have been trained as a society for immediate, instant gratification. And as soon as I have a block on that, I'm pissed.
And so even if you could turn that into something else, because you've had that block, now it stops them from even wanting to do business with you. And I don't know.
What do you think? So what are we all trying to do? We're trying to do what you just said. Well, because when I share that number with people, it's all about unable to agree to appointment time. They take that nugget and they go, well, we're just going to eliminate that problem. As a shop owner, you're all about eliminating problems, right? So I'll hear shop owners when we're going through training, I'll fix this right now, Stan. Well, what are you going to do? Don't ever tell them they can't bring it in. Bring it in right now. Okay, and you're going to put them where?
Yeah.
Because all the service advisors, the process guys, right? What do you mean, boss?
Yeah.
Boss just wants to solve the problem.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how he's going to solve it.
Yeah.
So now what we're seeing this conversation shift from, what can you just bring it on by now?
Right.
That would make logical sense, right? But then we started studying what percentage of those showed up. Going to give you a new KPI. First is booked appointment rate. Never seen that as a shop owner. We're going to show that to you. The next one is a show rate. So what percentage of the people you confirmed an appointment with on the phone, what percentage of them do you think don't show up?
After you shift to bring it down right now?
Whatever the scenario is, you were able to overcome the unable to agree to appointment time.
Oh.
And you locked in something with them on the phone.
I float around 80%.
I think.
Well, we have an online scheduler, and we can see how many people, like, if they don't show, they get marked as a no-show. So we can track how many no-shows don't show up. Sometimes they reschedule, but the no-shows, I mean, we can see how many no-shows. We're not operating at the volume of a Bill Nalu, though. I'm not.
Yeah.
So, I have fewer opportunities, but I can imagine maybe half.
It depends upon two things. One, it depends upon if it's an immediate need, unplanned, engine lights on, I'm getting that fixed, right? Scheduled maintenance, I'll wait a couple days. But if I've got an emergency, depends upon what the need was and how long the booked appointment was out. It'll kind of move all over the charts.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
But again, you just kind of start peeling these layers back. And what we're trying to help shop owners, let's first just get some awareness there. What is these KPI? Things you've never looked at as a shop owner, let's help you look at them. Understand, is it really impacting your business? Because if you're a shop and here's another great thing that we've been looking at, how much of your business was new versus retention customers? Did you know the percentage? Do you think most shops know that mix?
I think a
the
lot.
Good shops do.
the SMS systems typically provide us a number now.
It's there, but are we looking at it?
No,
Most that's my point. It's the data's there, but are we looking at it?
Yeah, not as many as should be by any means.
If I'm a shop that's 80% retention, I'm not doing a lot of marketing. And my customers are going to be a lot more flexible because they want me to fix it. You're wait on your guy, won't you?
Yeah.
You're wait on your guy. But if it ain't your guy, you're going to be, maybe I will, maybe I won't. So, again, those are some other things that you have to kind of look at is what's your mix like? Are you 60-40? Are you 50-50? Are you 20-80?
So let me ask you this then, because you say, well, you still have no shows. Is there a scheduling tactic that you've seen more effective than another? I guess is
in the conversation, believe it or not.
Okay.
The last time you went to the dentist, and I'll use dentists because they do a very good job.
Oh, yeah.
Of their appointments, don't they? You get that text reminding me, we all shake our head, man.
Yeah.
If I don't show up, he's coming and pulling my teeth out of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. He's getting my money no matter
he's getting
what.
my money. So we kind of analyzed some of those industries where you just had that 100% stick, right? What I mean is you showed up. You didn't mess around with it.
Yeah.
And why is that? Is the question. Well, why is it that people will show up for their dentist appointment, and if I'm number 2 to the dentist, then why are they not showing up for their appointment? Well, we start to measure that in the conversation. If you call and we go through what concerns are you having with your vehicle, and we identify that we can help you and we're a good choice for you, the next step is booking the appointment. Now, if I was asked, some people say, well, what's an appointment to you? Well, just bring it on down. Okay. Did you tell me where you were located, sir? Nope. Did you get my vehicle information? Nope. Do you know my name? Nope. Did you get my phone number? Nope. Did you book an appointment with me? Nope.
Yeah.
Your dentist has got all that. What are you coming in for? What's your name? What's your address? And they're probably going to repeat that back to you before they hang up.
Yep.
So remember I said there's 4 quadrants of conversation: greeting, discovery, and appointment.
Yeah.
Appointment. The difference between confirming and repeating back to me what you and me just talked about, huge uptick.
Really?
Because now I'm committed. Am I not? What's your name again, ma'am? And your vehicle is, well, why do I need to take all that time? It ain't about you, service advisor or shop owner. It's about building value with that person, that I'm committing my time as a shop owner, as a place you're bringing your car to, and you're committing to me. That's very different from just bring it on by. Are you committed to bring it on by? Just drop it off? Even at a drop-off, say the environment you're in, are you confirming the drop-off? So you're going to drop off tonight. Do you know where we're located? Did you know how many times the percentage of time that we do not confirm that the caller knows where we're located?
I'd say a bunch.
It's incredible.
It's 100% of the time frame. We don't.
Nobody
They
does
sometimes they ask. Right?
Nobody does. Oh, well, they should know where I am. They call.
I get worried. Going like, what do you mean you don't know who? Do you even know who you're calling? Do you know where you go? Yeah.
Now, do you want to know why the consumer is doing that? Let's play consumer for a minute. 2 different scenarios: planned, unplanned. Planned is what? My old reminder's coming on. I need to get alignment done. That's a planned. I can plan my cost. I can plan my schedule. A lot more flexible. Very different conversation versus I got a rattle. I got a squeak. I got to go out of town and my brakes are squealing. Whole different caller, right? So let's say the engine light guy or woman or whoever. What do you do when something happens in your life? You get on your phone and you type in X near me.
Yeah.
Auto repair near me. You click on the first thing. If you're in panic mode, you're not, percentage-wise, you're not reading any reviews.
Yeah. Right, you're just trying to go.
If that ad is relevant to what you search for, you're clicking. Percentage-wise, that are going to call versus book an appointment are much higher because I don't know you. I'll book an appointment on your website if I know you. But if I don't know you, how much is and do you fix are the questions coming out of my mouth.
Absolutely.
And how quickly can you do it? When we look at those part of the conversations and we're not confirming that appointment, and people are like, why do I need to confirm it? Because I just clicked on, I typed in, clicked on, called. Did it resonate with me? Any name? No.
Yeah.
You said your name one time when you're greeting. Thank you for calling John's Auto Shop. Do I remember that? No. What's on my mind? My engine light's on. I'm in panic mode.
Get my car fixed.
Right? Have you ever had somebody show up to your shop and they were at the wrong shop?
Yeah, it's happened.
Is that whenever?
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'll give another example. You ever use Yelp? A lot of people don't like Yelp. But if you go and do any type of search, they're in the first or second position in the results page.
Yeah.
10 best auto repair near you, right? You can jump on Yelp. You're going to start clicking and calling. Let's say you want to get a quote. Have any of you ever used the Yelp quote? You know what it does? It sends a quote out to every shop.
Oh.
Yeah, you should play consumer with it. It's actually a great tool as a consumer. As business owners, we hate it, right? Because they don't put our great reviews up. But as an avenue for a consumer, it's extremely powerful. So think about the mindset of the consumer coming into this conversation. He's probably talked to 3 or 4 other people. It's going to call 3 or 4, and he doesn't remember your name, and you didn't say his name, and you didn't confirm the vehicle, and you didn't lock him in. That's the difference in that show rate, where we see the conversation locked in, repeated back to the customer. My name's Stan. Make sure you cash for me when you come in. I'm creating a relationship. Have you ever repeated a caller's name to them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When someone repeats your name, does that not build some credibility for you?
Yeah.
If I say your name?
Absolutely.
So again, it's the little things, man, that change that show rate from 30% to 80 to 90%. And I think that was your question, was like, well, how do you kind of measure that? We rely on all the technology to send the confirmation out and the reminders out. I get that. But locking the appointment in between you and me on the phone. If I schedule online, do I get a confirmation? If I schedule online, do I put my vehicle information in? Sure I do. Is there a link to your address? It's all right there. So why should I not be doing that on the phone?
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's pretty impressive. So how can they get in touch with you if they want to ask questions about this?
IronFistConsultants.com.
IronFistConsultants.com. Stan, thank you for being here, buddy.
And it's been a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir.